Hey there, my name is Ben Everingham and I'm the director here at Pumped on Property, and in today's video I'm going to talk about the 5 financial choices that will make you wealthy over the long term. So if it's your first time to my channel, welcome, love you to subscribe or leave a comment if there's another video you'd like me to record. But in today's video we're really going to talk about paying yourself first, investing rather than spending, focusing on building the skills that the market values, understanding timing, and the 5th and last thing is taking a longer term perspective and understanding compound growth properly. So let's get straight into it. Paying yourself first is the most important financial decision you'll ever make. It doesn't matter if you're earning $50,000 a year right now or $5 million a year. What matters is that you pay yourself first. Now, I've spoken to over 6,000 investors in the last 5 years, and what I've learned is that whether you're earning literally 50K or I've had clients earning over $5 million a year, those people with a plan to pay themselves first always win. So I've spoken to people earning $300,000 or $400,000 a year that have zero savings and zero assets or investments, and people earning 50 grand with multiple assets. When I was 24 to 26, I was earning less than, I think I was earning less than 60 grand a year, and I bought my first 4 properties. So it's not how much you earn, it's what you earn. It's not what, whoa, stuff that one up. It's not how much you earn, it's what you do with what you earn. I know that's not going to be cut out, so I'm sorry about that. It's what you do with what you earn that really matters and really changes your stars. So if you can get in the habit of paying yourself, 10% or 20% or 30% of your income and use that money for nothing else but purely investing, you're going to be in a much better position longer term than the people that don't pay themselves first, because there's always going to be more crap you can buy, more lifestyle that you can lead, or more, your cost of living keep going up as you earn more money. And unless you've got a plan to continue to pay yourself first, and as your income increases over time, pay yourself more first, then you're still going to be in the same position as everyone else, which is on the pension, who doesn't invest and doesn't save. So the second thing is an absolute no-brainer, but you would be surprised, that 80 or 90, 95% of people do this, and that is to spend rather than invest. So the second financial choice that will make you really wealthy is to change that mindset from spending to investing, and to invest first. Now, this means a whole heap of things. One of those things, and the most important thing, is delaying your gratification. And I'm a Sydney sider. 60% of the people that we work with at the moment are from Sydney. Absolutely no disrespect to myself and all my mates, but people from Sydney want to keep up with the Joneses. It's all about the car, the house, the clothes, the haircut, like the music, the phone. It's just non-stop down there compared to other markets in Australia, like Brisbane's much more laid back. Melbourne, it's embarrassing for some people to display their wealth. So I get that different markets have different things. Like Sydney's the full rat race, like New York wannabe chasing the money. But what that means is a lot of people are spending so much of their income down there on just keeping up, and because they're not investing first, they're just getting further and further behind from where they would be. So what I've learned to do is, I didn't have a car for 6 years. Now, I'm not talking about sacrificing lifestyle, because lifestyle is everything, and if you were to roll over tomorrow, you want to lead a life that you absolutely loved and lived it up. I'm not talking about sacrificing holidays or travel or stuff that adds value to your family, or cutting back a day at work or whatever it is that's important to you. What I'm talking about is just buying crap that you don't need to keep up with people that don't give a shit about what you have, because next year it's going to be old anyway. So I'm really talking about delaying that gratification. I invested first. I'm 32 years of age now. I've bought 11 properties for myself in Sydney, and now a few in Queensland in the last 8 years. It's all because I've invested first. Now, I don't own all of those properties, because who wants that amount of leverage and debt and risk? But I've sold those properties to pay off debt on others, and I think being in a low risk position is always very, very important. There's no way to get rich quick unless you take massive risk, and again, if that's you, jump off the vid and go listen to those get rich quick dudes. So investing is important. Get in the habit of investing first, spending second. 10, 15, 20 years from now, you won't even realize how much better off you are than everyone you've ever met. The third thing is gonna, again, put some people off, but you know, that's how I sort of roll. Like, let's just call this for what it is, and let's not be like the 80% of people that we know that will be on the pension in 50 years from now or 20 years from now, because that's the reality of not making these changes. And I know that's brutal, but sometimes we need to be shaken up and realize that, like, if we want to do this and we want to become wealthy in the future and we want to be financially independent and free, then you've got to go against the grain of what other people are saying and doing. So the third thing is focusing on building the skills that markets value. And by the market, I mean people that you're working for, or the market is in, if you're starting your own business, the market will pay good money for. So if you're working a job right now, focus on building a foundation that is going to build a skyscraper in terms of skills, knowledge, ability, and growth, as opposed to putting down a, you know, little residential slab, you know what I mean, that's going to put one house on top of it in the future. And what I mean by that is markets, and I'm not talking about the technical roles, which a lot of our clients are very technical. If you're a doctor, unless you you know, very much specialize or start your own practice, your income's going to be capped. You know, if you're an engineer, your income is going to be capped. If you're a solicitor working for someone else, and you're not prepared to work 100 hours a week, then it's going to be capped. If you're in government, it's going to be capped. What I'm talking about here is, even with this, in those industries that cap, the people that are making the most money are the bosses. So the people that have learned how to manage, inspire, and lead people. The salespeople, as much as you might despise them, you're always going to pay your salespeople more, because salespeople bring revenue through the front door, and business, as much as we like or dislike it, is never going to exist without people that can bring people through. And then I also believe that marketing is a skill set for the future as well. So if you can learn how to do 1 to 3 of those things, that is what the market, as a person getting employed by someone else, regardless of your technical or you're filled with hot air, is going to value. Now, the second thing within part 3, sorry, I'm losing my hands here, when focusing on the skills that markets value, is targeting industries that pay more money. Now, we all know that if you love hospitality, cool, but you know, the best you're ever going to do is probably make 70K working for someone else in a retail store, managing a bunch of 15 to 20-year-olds that, you know, can't see their future there. So no disrespect to anyone working in a low-paying industry. I know that there's all sorts of reasons why we end up in those places, but if you're younger, or you're like me and open to change and continual growth throughout your life, then choose an industry that's going to pay you the most money. Like, I love property investing, but no one makes more money than people that are in the property industry in Australia. So there's also a reason that I'm in that space, and that's because I didn't want to wait till I was 70 to be retired. I wanted to go into a space that was going to create good income for me and my future, so I could continue to focus on my passion, which is not just working in the property industry, but investing and getting financially free. Like, that's what it's all about. If you're working in the property industry and you're not investing, you're absolutely out of your mind. Like, so focus on those industries. What else pays good? What else adds value to people's lives that you're passionate about, that, you know, you could see yourself doing for the next 15 years while you invest and get yourself out of having to do that work again? Or maybe you're like me and you found a passion in work and business and helping people. So regardless of if you're financially free or not, you want to keep contributing and adding value and going to that next level. And so that becomes your new gig. But, you know, focus on the industries where there's money, and focus on your passion as well. So you're only going to continue to build the skills, continue to show up every day, continue to work the extra hours, continue to get good at something if you love it. And it's easy to say that because I'm someone that's been lucky enough to find that, but people don't know that I worked 60 different jobs since the time I was 13 to figure that out. I'm 32 now. You know, like, I tried a lot of things that I hated, and that made me realize what I actually liked. And if you're showing up hating something every day in a low-paying industry, then build the skill set at night like I did, volunteer on the weekends like I did, to transition your skill set so that you can get a job where you actually want to be in the industry that's going to look after you long term, and that also has a future. Like, over the next 30 years, a lot of industries are going to be wiped out because of disruption. So make sure that it's one that's going to have, you know, you're not getting into newspapers right now, for example. The third thing is, in terms of building the skills that markets value, run your own business, start your own business. Now, you don't have to jump in and go full on at it like some people do. I certainly didn't do that. I started a couple of small businesses, learnt skills, had successes, had failures, set up this business a couple of years before I even stopped working for someone else, and started to write blogs and do videos and podcasts and record, and just put the intention out there that this is what I was going to do. And it got to a point where I was starting to see some results from doing it, and so I was able to transition out of my full-time job into this. It doesn't have to be this huge crazy leap into the abyss or jumping off a cliff. You can just step off the gutter and stagger your approach and have a plan for your approach into your own business. But the market values people that produce or create quality services that look after people. If you want to do the best financially, then look at all of the world's 1%ers. They're all working for themselves. Now, that might not be the best thing for you. 95% of businesses fail within the first 5 or 10 years in Australia. So sometimes it's better to just go, hey, I don't have the temperament for my own business, but I'm going to focus on my job and building the skills there, and I'm going to focus on the industry where I can make money that I enjoy working in, and I'm going to invest as much money out of my job as I can to go to that next level. Now, the fourth thing out of these 5 financial choices that will make you wealthy is understanding timing. I've done other videos on this and not going to be able to cover it properly today, but read Phil Anderson's book, The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking, and you'll get a very good idea of the big picture historically of what's going on. Look at, if you're a property person like me, the Core Logic monthly updates, Michael Matusik's updates, the Heron Todd White updates, the BIS updates, the Residex updates. The industry is filled with people that love data like me, that are just wanting to share it with you because that's their passion. So tap into that, figure out where stuff's at, and leverage off that. Now, I'm not going to go much further than that, but timing is a skill set to learn, and the thing that is going to completely change your world. Now, I'll give you 2 examples of this. Imagine you had have known that the GFC was coming and got prepared for it. The Secret Life of Real Estate and Banking predicted it 3 years before it was going to happen. All you had to do was read it. Another book, The Power in the Land, predicted the recession we had to have in that period of time 10 years or 8 years before it happened. Like, there's people that understand this stuff, that write about this stuff. You've just got to get them in your circle of influence. But imagine you had bought property in Sydney in 2012 and held it till 2018 or 17, and made that 70 to 100% growth, or in Melbourne during the same time. Or imagine you could have bought in Perth when the commodity cycle really started to kick off and prices went up by 100% in 5 years over there. Or, imagine you're buying Brisbane right now, and 7 years we'll be looking back from Brisbane, from where we are right now, going, man, that was a good time to consider that marketplace. Or imagine you don't know when the GFC is coming, but you're in a strong financial position because, like me, you're a low risk investor, and when no one else is buying a couple of years after it starts and prices have bottomed out, you pick up property in Sydney or Melbourne for 30 or 40% below what it's worth at the time before the top. So, being smart and buying at the bottom is one thing. Understanding different markets throughout the cycle and when to buy and sell is very important. Same thing with the stock market. If you're a share person, you know that once every 12 months for the last 70 years, the market's dropped by 10%. Buy the dip. If you understand your history even better, you know that once every 3 years for the last 40 years, the stock market's dropped by 30% at once. Buy the dip. If you know that there's a GFC and the stock market's corrected by 30, 50, 70%, buy the market, you know what I mean? Like, buy the dip, learn your history, understand timing. So same with starting businesses, like, understand the timing of the business cycle too, which it's all related to property, shares, business, the economy. It's the same thing. Very easy to understand if you follow the right people. The 5th and final thing I wanted to talk about, and I love this stuff, man, so I hope you're enjoying this journey with me too, and that's to take a long-term perspective. Just stop trying to get rich quick. It's not going to happen. If you're not already financially independent, there's a reason, and that's because you don't pay yourself first. You're not investing rather than spending. you're too young and you're just getting started, you've been focusing on building the wrong skills in your job, or you've just been overspending, or you don't understand timing. And the sad fact is, results speak louder than words. If you're not financially independent, there's a reason. So take a longer term perspective. Yes, it might take you 5 or 10 years longer to build financial independence and wealth than you want it to. It's not going to happen in 5 years if you're just getting started. If you're halfway there, it's probably not going to happen in the next 10 years. It might take 15. If you're at that stage of life where you're just getting started at 50 to 60, you know, take a deep breath in, realize that you've either got to take on significantly more risk than I would ever want to take at that time of life, or it's going to take a little bit longer, but you will get there if you're just starting out as well. But take a longer term perspective. Start to understand the power of leverage, understand the power of compound growth, and the fact that if you've got $400,000 worth of property today, and if that property grows in value by 6% a year, if you're buying Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, buying a house in the inner to middle ring, then you're probably going to be significantly better off in 15 years time. If the market grows by 4.8% a year for 15 years, it will have doubled in value. If you can double $400,000 a couple of times over the next 15 or 20 years without taking on too much risk, then you'll be significantly better off than you are right now, and you'll have decisions that you can't make right now in the future. But as someone that just wanted to rush out, you know, not everyone goes and buys 11 properties in 8 years before they're 32. As someone that went really hard in business, when I was working for other people, building the right skills, the right foundation, that invested my ass off, that obsesses about understanding this stuff, it still hasn't happened anywhere as quickly as I wanted it to. I used to put heaps of pressure on myself around that. Just take the pressure off, realize it's a longer term thing, enjoy the journey, because now that I'm in a much better financial position, it doesn't make me any happier. It does give me some better choices. It also means that I don't have to stress about certain things that I used to really stress about when I was living off $300 a week for 4 years at uni, or going through the graduate programs and earning very, very low income, or buying my first properties and having to use a credit card to pay for solicitors' fees because I was literally leveraging that hard, which I would never say to anyone to do. That was dangerous. If I had have understood these things and watched this video, I never would have done that. But you know, I'm lucky that the timing was straight after a GFC and everything has gone up since then. But you know, these 5 financial choices will make you wealthy if you know how to apply them, and if you consistently do that over the next 10, 15, 30 years. Pay yourself first, invest rather than spend, focus on building the right types of skills that your boss, the industry and the market pays for. Focus on understanding timing and obsess about that one, because that's 80% of the growth you're going to make in the next 15 years is just from timing alone. And take a long-term perspective and really begin to understand this stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. For those of you who are as nutty as I am and that really want to set your financial future up but understand it doesn't happen overnight, I'd love to do a one-on-one strategy session with you. I'm a property guy. I'm a very active investor myself. I'm working towards my own financial independence. I'd love to do a one-on-one strategy session with you, or my brother Simon would love to do it with you as well. Just jump over to www.pumpedonproperty and click free strategy session. It'd be cool to learn a bit more about you and where you and your family are at, where you want to go, and we can start sort of creating a plan or sharing some ideas to bridge that gap. So thank you so much. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is just my own experiences. Take them with a grain of salt, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. See you next time.